A good vach and bruchim aboyim to the virtual Motzei Shabbos keynote session of the 98th Annual Aguda Convention. No one imagined last year in the packed ballroom in Stamford, Connecticut, that we would be joining together a year later with hundreds and thousands of miles of distance separating us from each other. That the stirring words of the Rosh Agudas Yisrael, the Novominsker Rebbe Zatzal, would be the last message we would hear from him at a convention podium. That Haggai and Harav David Feinstein Zatzal would no longer be here to grace the dais with his presence. Where hundreds of Achenu B'nai Yisrael would be grieving the loss of a loved one, that our shuls and yeshivas and Beis Yaakovs would have to fight to stay open. One day we're dancing hand in hand in a cold January afternoon, 100,000 Yidden celebrating Limudat Torah at MetLife, and tens of thousands more around the world, and then all of a sudden, we are thrust into a reality where people will not even shake hands. So much has changed, and there's so much uncertainty in the world. And yet, in truth, for us, nothing has changed. Our reality has always been, and continues to be, clear. The Ribbono Shel Olam runs the world, and we must stop to notice. For so many, wearing a mask is nothing new. The only thing that has changed is where we wear it. Many have walked around for so long with the mask over their eyes, not seeing the Yad Hashem in everything, and now we have uncovered our eyes for a perfect view. If anything, the year 2020 has given us all 2020 vision. As a Klal Yisrael, we're not strangers to the idea of living in unprecedented times. That is what defines our existence throughout our long and bitter gullus. We have a roadmap that is tried and true and has never failed us. Sha'al abicha ve'yagedcha zekeinecha ve'yomrulach. Hagoyin Meirenu Harav Shach zecher tzadik livrocha spoke for the last time at the Psicha of the Ponevezh Yachei Kala in Tovshin and Daled, where he explained this pasuk that in order for us to build a future, we need to stay connected to our past. We should not be looking for new or modern ways or ideas, but rather reinforce and strengthen the long-standing Messiah and teachings of our past to secure the future. The reason is that the Dvar Hashem is nitzchi, constant and eternal, and our Chachamim are the ones that carry the lessons to our days. He explained that it is this emunah that has given the strength to Klal Yisrael to weather any storm we needed to confront. This fundamental lesson is the heartbeat of Agudas Yisrael. It is what defines our mission and purpose. In this week's parasha, the pasuk reads, "Vayikach me'avnei hamakoim vayosem mirash Esav." The Rashi famously explains that the stones began to argue with each other, and each proclaimed, "Allah yaniach tzadik roshai." Immediately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu joined them together and made them into one rock, as the pasuk later states, "Vayikach es ha'even asher sa mirash Esav," in singular. The Goyen Rab Chatzkel Abramsky Zecher Tzadik Livracha asked, why was it necessary for the Ribbono Shel Olam to make such a magnificent nace just for Yaakov Avinu alav shalom to witness? More so, was this really necessary just to make shalom between the stones? Rabbi Abramsky Zatzal explains that the Medrash teaches that there were 3 stones corresponding to the 3 avos. And the Rishonim have taught that the 3 avos are the representation of the 3 amudim that the world exists upon. Avram Avinu alav shalom is the pillar of Chesed. The pillar of Avodah is Yitzchak Avinu alav shalom. And lastly, Yaakov Avinu alav shalom is the pillar of Torah. Here, Yaakov Avinu alav shalom felt that this awesome place, the Makom HaMikdash, excelled in these 3 areas of Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasodim. Therefore, the 3 stones were placed under his head. Once he started to consider these amudim as the salvation of Klal Yisrael, they started to argue which is the central koyach. At this point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu joined them together, the 3 forces, and established that only when all 3 are observed and are central to Klal Yisrael can it bring a true salvation. Yaakov Avinu alav shalom took this stone and made it into a matzeva, to be an ois and a siman for all generations, that only such a place can be considered a base kale. Agudas Yisrael is the one organization that functions as the true pillars of Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasodim, together and united. Torah, from promoting Daf Yomi through the Daf Yomi Commission, the many shiurim and yarchei kala, pirchim mishnayos programs and activities, the many symposiums and shabbosis of chizuk, and now the Kihem Chayenu initiative. Avodah, from the many Agudah shuls and camps that serve the spiritual needs of the community, the advocacy and work of the most dedicated servants of the Ribono Shel Olam and Klal Yisrael across the country that strive to be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim in all that they do. Gemilus Chasadim, Chaim Aruchim on call 24 hours a day to help and assist families in the most difficult situations. Benos programs to visit the elderly and mentor the younger children. Project Learn to help families with children with special needs. Project Cope and PCS. Emergency funds for communities affected by disasters and constituent services to help individuals with all sorts of problems. It is because Agudas Yisrael has ensured that the three pillars that sustain the world are strong and able to function together as one, that our tzaddikim, our Gedolei Yisrael, are able to place themselves upon this rock that is stable and firm to be able to lead and build a base kel in this world. From the times of the Chafetz Chaim and Rav Chaim Oizer, the Imrei Emes, to Rav Aaron Kotler and Rav Moshe Feinstein, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, Rav Ruderman, Rav Elia Svei, Rav Gift and the Bluzhever Rebbe, Rav Avram Chaim Levine, the Novominsker Rebbe, and Rav David Feinstein, Zechoinam Tzadikim Livroche, to Yibor Lachaim Tovim, the current Moetzes Gedolei HaTorah Sheyichyu. Agudas Yisrael and Klal Yisrael have been led by the Einei Ha'edah, the defenders of our long and guarded Messiah. It is they that provide us with the path on how to conduct ourselves in this bitter and long gullus. It is they that ensure we stay true to the roadmap of Shalavicha v'yagedcha zekenecha v'yomrulach, and not stray into a world of modernity and new ideas. It is this foundation that makes Agudas Yisrael unique. It is this foundation that makes Agudas Yisrael indispensable, and it is this that makes Agudas Yisrael the force that will herald in the Geula b'imheira b'yameinu.